and 6 of them got high acceptance, and 5 honors, and one best in show. Don is going to read the comment from the judges, and then we can show the images.
Good evening, CPS, from all of us. Thank you very much. I can't read in the dark, sorry. Oh. Thank you. Thank you very much for giving us the chance to enjoy your nature images. While we have both been keen nature photographers for many years, we are both interested in a variety of other genres as well. We particularly enjoy travel photography, black and white imagery, and creating audio visuals. Alistair would add street photography, while Trish would add infrared photography and macro work. Because we are both accredited nature judges, we sometimes take the opportunity to judge independently and then compare our marks and comments. At times, this leads to some rather interesting discussions because we don't always agree. Even after discussion, we may have to agree to disagree. Just as in some cases you will not agree with the decisions we have made, What is important for all of us is to approach this aspect of photography with an open mind and a willingness to learn, or at least consider the comments made by others. Overall, we were impressed with the quality of the nature work. Most of the images aim to tell a nature story. The images are all well named and well presented. Well done, CPS. You can have that. Score 1, Supplejack berries, Cariao. Excuse my pronunciation. The immediate attraction of this image is the bright red of the berries against the green leaves. We also enjoyed the water drop on one of the berries. Because the berries are varying degrees of sharpness, so we suggest using a smaller aperture to increase the depth of field. We also suggest trying some different compositions in an attempt to find a more artistic presentation. Score 1, New Zealand glowworm. We have to use this title to try to understand what this image is about, because nothing is clear enough or close enough for us to identify any glowworms or even the sticky threads they use to catch their prey. Including part of the cave system or location where these little fellows are found would help tell more of your story. Score 1, lenticular clouds above Marlborough. These clouds make interesting shapes which stand out against the blue of the sky. In a simple image such as this one, it is particularly important to clean up any sensor spots, as once seen, they do remain annoying. We suggest lifting the bottom frame a little bit to avoid the inclusion of the bright bits of vegetation on both the right and the left. While the New Zealand mountains and hills are often very blue, in this image, that blueness appears to be oversaturated. Score 1, Surprise Bee. The title suggests this image is about the bee, but in this composition, the bee is so small that it is overpowered by the size and colour of the flower. Either get in closer when photographing or crop in closer later if you have sufficient resolution. This would also concentrate us on the sharpest part of the flower. Score 1, Monarch 2. The bright colours of the monarch butterfly stand out well against the blue sky. In this image, the story is about the monarch butterfly and possibly the flower it is feeding on. It is important that the elements in the image which tell the story are sharp, i.e. the whole of the butterfly and at least the flower it is on. To achieve a greater area of sharpness, depth of field, choose a smaller aperture, such as f16. You will probably find that you will also have to increase the ISO to allow sufficient light so you can maintain the faster shutter speed. Score 1, no. Score 1, seagulls. The birds are sharp and the colour is strong, especially the red beaks and red legs, which really stand out. This sort of flocking behaviour is often seen, but what has caused it in this instance? Without the story, our eyes wander around and around the image, looking for something to focus on. Score 1, large sand patterns. These large sand shapes would certainly discourage us from wanting to walk along the beach just here. While the image is sharp, it is the lighting which is rather flat. It doesn't show the texture or give the 3D effect that stronger side lighting would give. Experiment with different lighting and different compositions, such as putting the raised patterns on an angle to add more interest. Score 1, white-fronted tern, Sterna striata. We did appreciate your effort to catch the bird doing something, but we felt that in this example we are too close. The shallow depth of field has made the head and some of the feathers on the back sharp, but the part of the image close to us is very blurred. Try a greater depth of field and from a different angle. Score 1, Silybum marianum, milk thistle before bloom. The colours are beautiful and the well-lit buds stand out against the dark background. If there had been at least one of the buds in full flower, it would have told us more about this plant. Score 1, seagulls in an urban environment. We are rather glad that this is not our car that these ever-hopeful characters are on. In this composition, the story is not strong, so there is nothing for us to focus on. Our preference would have been to see these seagulls in a more natural environment, or at least a simpler background, without the poles and paths. Score 2, Western Weka, G.A. australis. It is lovely to see a weka, which used to be more common in the South Island than they are now. The detail and colour, very natural, and the attitude of the bird seems to suggest it is rather inquisitive. Overall, the lighting works well, but it is rather dark on the weka, which hides some of the detail. The information needed to tell the story is contained in the bottom half of the image, which results in the subject being quite small. Try cropping to focus the whole image on the lower half of this scene. Score 2, Yellow Admiral, Kahu Kowhai. This brightly coloured butterfly is sharp and detailed along the body, but the sharpness falls away rather too quickly on the wings. While you have told the story of the butterfly on a flower, we felt that the crop was rather too tight, giving the insect little room to move. Score 2, Pied Shag. We like the way the shag is looking back over its shoulder. There is a very distracting area of brightness down the bird's back, which looks as if some lightning targeted at the bird has spread out over the water. There is also a white halo where dark areas touch against the water, possibly from over-sharpening, which can be seen when the image is larger. Score 2, Crested Grebe and Chick. This is a nice little story about the adult presenting a feather to the chick, although I'm not sure why it would do that. The subjects appear to be not quite sharp. There is also considerable noise in the image. Both of these problems you could improve in post-processing. Score 2, Paradise Shelduck in Flight. This paradise shelduck has been caught as it flies low across the water, its reflection clearly seen below it. Because the background is rather busy, the body of the bird doesn't stand out so well against it. While the attention of the image is focused on the duck, it is the composition that is rather unbalanced. Score 2, Lichens on Twig. We enjoyed exploring the variety of lichen on this twig. Because neither the twig of lichens are going, twig or lichens are going anywhere, we suggest trying focus stacking to get all the lichens and all of the twig sharp. The lighting you have used works well, as it allows the subject to stand out clearly from any distractions in the background. Score 3, Acceptance, South Island Fernbird. It is not often we have the pleasure of seeing these little brown birds in their natural environment. We appreciated the sharp detail that we were able to enjoy. There does appear to be a little unnatural over-sharpening of the tail feathers. We suggest it could be cropped differently to take the bird off the centre while still including enough information to give us a hint of the environment. Score 3, Accepted. Endangered New Zealand sea lions greeting Phocatus hookerai catlins. This is an interesting grouping of these New Zealand sea lions, which you have shown in their natural habitat. To involve us as viewers, we would like to see more detail in at least one of the faces. We would also suggest trying a different crop to remove the central position of the group. Maybe allowing a little more space on the right so they have somewhere to go if they want to move away. Score 3, acceptance, short-tailed stingray Marlborough sounds. We were intrigued by the detail you have captured in the stingray, in particular the lines of bubbles rising from the back of the ray. Although rays breathe from gills under the body, they also have an opening on the back which allows them to breathe when resting on the bottom. We assume this is where the bubbles come from. Never having been close and personal with a stingray, we would be interested to know if we have interpreted this correctly. We like the feeling of being in the water that this composition retains. Score 3, acceptance, juvenile wool carder bee. There is quite a lot to explore in the head and thorax of this bee because the detail is very sharp. There is a hint of one wing, but no evidence of a second wing, which is a bit disconcerting. There are 3 equally strong elements in this composition: the bright leaf top left, the bee, and the flower. To concentrate the viewer's attention on the story, we suggest dulling down that bright leaf. Score 3, acceptance, Fiordland crested penguin, maybe. The dark shadows in the rocks suggest that the light is very contrasty. The light on the penguin has been handled well, with no detail obscured by deep shadows. We were unsure of the story other than you had caught this crested penguin walking around the rocks. At the moment you press the shutter, the bird appears to be very awkwardly balanced. Hopefully you were able to take several more photos at the same time, and maybe there is one image where the bird is better balanced. Score 3, acceptance, pied shag, tifora. Each time we see this image, we have to smile. Just what has caught their attention, or do they have to look sideways to see what the photographer is up to? The background would suggest that this is in farmland, which is not the normal environment for these water birds. We suggest adding a touch of sharpening before submitting this image would improve the image quality. Score 3, acceptance, tuatara portrait. The sharp eye really draws you into this image. It is reminiscent of how a tuatara will remain very still for long periods of time, just staring. The head stands out well against the muted background. The detail is sharp and clear around the eye, nose and mouth. A smaller aperture, even 5.6 or f8, would have allowed you to capture sharper detail in the head while maintaining the blurred background. Score 3, acceptance, humpback whale tail with barnacles. A well-timed photo to capture the water streaming off the flukes as the tail comes out of the water. We like the capture of the barnacles to add another point of interest. Overall, the image feels as if it is a little underexposed. Check levels or curves and try using the full range of tones to add more impact to the image. Score 3 acceptance, female New Zealand fur seal with pup feeding. This image tells a nice story with two faces looking at us while the youngster feeding is not concerned about the photographer. The composition is nicely balanced and there is enough of the background to be supportive. We suggest you consider darkening down the white line because once you notice it, it does become a little distracting. Score 3 acceptance, coot chick, Fulica Ultra. These little guys are so cute despite their ugliness at this early stage. We enjoyed the way the reflection is broken up by the rings of water which result from the chick's movement. To score more highly, we would like a stronger story. Score 3 acceptance, Bale Mountain Vervet on lookout duty, Ethiopia 2020. The very direct stare of this monkey is key to drawing you into the image. You can imagine that it is sitting very still and on alert. At any point, it may raise the alarm. A simple image with sharp detail in the foreground and a blurred background. Score 3, acceptance, Katuku, Adea alba preening. Taking this lovely white bird against a bright white background is rather a challenge. It has resulted some loss of detail on the bird's back. It is unfortunate that the head is in the shadow, making it hard to see the bird's eye. Score 4, high acceptance, silver eye feeding on echium flowers. From the title, we expected to see the silver eye actually feeding, but instead this is a story of a silver eye on an echium flower. There is excellent detail in the bird and the colours are very realistic. Overall, a lovely photo. Score 4, high acceptance, Egreta Nouvelle Hollande with crab. We like the way you have caught this heron with one foot in the air and a crab in its beak. The bird is nicely placed in the image with room to move into. In the background is a line of something dark, which is a little distracting and spoils the simplicity of the image. You could consider cropping this area out, as it would not change the story the image tells. Score 4, high acceptance, monarch butterfly, Danis plexipus with newly laid egg. A well-caught action shot taken just after an egg was laid. The inclusion of branches and leaves show the environment, while a more distant background is softly blurred. Both the background and the monarch butterfly are equally well lit. This bright lighting doesn't allow the butterfly to stand out as well as it would have done if the background was darker. Score 4, high acceptance, royal spoonbill scratching. This is a real in-your-face composition which makes you feel that you can hear that scratch. Lots of detail in the feathers and beak, Well taken. High acceptance, score 4, red coat, damselfly. A well seen and well photographed image of these two damselflies preparing to mate. We like the way the angled composition suits the subjects. A simple image which tells the story. Score 4, high acceptance, fellow crocorus, various, pied shag. A well-caught moment which clearly shows the subjects in their environment. The slightly angled composition shows the line of sharpness which includes both the birds. Score 5, honours. Yep. Fractal pattern in the sand. What a fascinating sand pattern which hints at trees, roots, plants, or maybe even ancient rock drawings. The side lighting has resulted in strong shadows which give a 3D effect, lifting the patterns off the sandy background. Score 5, honours, Hemantopus leucocephalus chicks. What a delightful photo of the three little chicks with their reflections. They are sharp and stand out clearly against the green background. There is a temptation to suggest a tighter crop, but in this composition we get an idea of the size of the chicks as they contrast with the size of the vegetation. Oops. Score 5, Australia, coot chick. Honours. This is a delightful photo of the inquisitive youngster checking out some potential food. The near green bit of the plant is a distraction, but it is a part of the story. Its distraction is reduced because you have been able to give us a clear view of the eye and the beak. Score 5 honours, centipede. The bright colours of this centipede stand out very strongly against the green leaves. The animal is sharp and detailed, well taken and presented. Score 5. Fungi, Nina Valley Walkway. Sorry, whoever looked up that word so well. This fungi has been beautifully taken with sharpness in the cap and down the stem. There is sufficient detail to tell us something of its environment. Score 6. Best in show, crested grebe with offering. This is a delightful story which you have captured at just the right moment. The grebe on the left is super sharp, and while the others are not quite as sharp, the story is strong enough to carry the image. Well taken. So how do I leave it up or go out of that? Or
Thank you, Dawn. Yes. Yeah. Diana will give the certificate away. Peter Curtis. Oh, he's not here. Hello? Yeah. Oh, sorry. Please, you could. Yeah. Joe? Tyler Cosell? Les Amon? Sandra McCoy? John Hunt? Sue Newport? John Thornton? Fritjof? Annette Prin? Karen Dance? Kelvin Ed? Janine Mani? Ron Williams? Judy Kurt? Bevan Tulip? Barry Dance? Irene Ferguson? Honest Jane Bott? Jane Bott, yeah, she's here. Anne Lam? Sue Kam? JK, that's me. That's me. Thank you. Alan Moore? And Best in Show, Don Kurt. Thank you, Diana. And thank you, Dawn, for reading.
Thank you, JK, for organising that. A good job done as Secretary of Natural History. Thank you. Now we've got a few minutes before we have a few announcements, and I wonder if those people who are here who have just picked up the top awards would like to have a word about where they were and how they got those photographs and how wet you got, Dawn. And yes. Yes. Oh, I see. All right. Well, we'll go back to the honours. Can you do that, Alan? So, not here. Oh, here we are. I'll bring this up to you. Tell us a little bit about how you created this image.
I think I took it on the beach, and we were just looking for patterns to do a pattern project, and it did look like a tree. So that's basically how I chose that particular image to put in the competition.
Well done. You always got to be on the lookout wherever you are. It's a beauty. Whose one is next, Ellen? Is Anne? No, she's not here. Okay. Sue's not. Sorry. JK, here you are. Microphone.
Yeah, I like my macro photography, and whenever I'm up, I'm trying to look for something to photograph, and I saw this centipede in the backyard of my house, and I'm with the Canon 7D2 and a 100mm lens, and flash speed light and diffuser. I took this picture. I think it's taken with the f-stop of 16, I think, and ISO of probably about 200, shutter speed 160 to 200. Yeah.
That's a magnificent creature. And Ellen, let me pass this over to you.
I'll just refresh it, I think. Can we do it? So for Dawn's sake, oh, it doesn't. Yes, Aciptotrama aspirata. I think that's how you say it. Yeah, this is a focus stack. I can't remember how many images are in the focus stack, but there'll be quite a few. I think it's natural light, and with my 90mm macro lens, I can't remember if it's when it was taken, so it might have been if it was before my A6600 or the A6000, but yeah. So that was just growing out the side of a tree on the Nina Valley Walkway. Yeah. It's that big. I think it might be about, I don't know, 50mm at the most, long, tall. Yeah, it's not very big. Yeah.
I took this at Rotokohatu this season, and with my 500mm lens, I be 5.6. I don't know. I probably haven't gone over 800 ISO, but I'm not quite sure what it was, and it was probably about 1200. Yeah, so I was just very lucky. They seem to stay in the area that they have their chicks, so I spent quite a lot of time going there over the season. I actually wasn't going to put it in because I thought it might get thrown out because all of the females not in the image. But anyway, I thought I'd give it a go. And it also cost me a new cell phone because I was walking out a little bit into the water and the stones are very slippery, and I slipped over and I forgot my cell phone was in my pocket and it died. So there we go.
We often have stories like that, don't we? So the compromise is that you got best in show for it and you have a lovely ribbon. So well done with that one. Thank you all for sharing how you came about creating those images. It's good for us to hear that. It inspires us to get out there and perhaps wear waders if we're going in the water, or leave the cell phone behind. So just before the conclusion of our evening, our next section is announcements. So we've got a promotion of competitions and dates coming up. The first one I'd like to tell you about is the Laurie Thomas Landscape Salon. That closes May 22, which is only a couple of days away. So this is a big salon for CPS, and it's one of our major fundraising activities for the year, and it's a national competition. So if you haven't got your 4 possible images together yet, over the next couple of days, do concentrate on it and enter them into that Laurie Thomas Landscape Salon. The North Shore Salon is open at the moment too, and it's just a digital salon, no prints this year. And the Tauranga AV competition is on at the moment. That closes on June the 8th. So if you've got your AVs that you may have used for this club, the CPS, you may use the same one for the Tauranga one. So just look up the rules and see how you qualify for that. And the fourth one that I want to tell you about is our Creative Focus, which is run by the Pukekohe Club, Pukekohe Franklin Club, and it's opening on June the 3rd. There are 4 different sections, so if you're interested in creative work, have a look on the PSNZ website, scroll down to Creative Focus and pick up all the rules and regulations from there. It's a good one to test your creativity. So our next CPS competition closing dates, we've got open PI photojournalism tonight. So I hope you're all well ahead of time and got yours in so you're not rushing home after this. And for the end of this month, our CPS MDC, our monthly digital challenge, is teenager. So the word this month is teenager, and there's lots of those subjects about. So get your teenager image into the MDC by the 31st of March. So we're looking at what's happening next week. Diana Andrews, are you still on for... You're not? Okay, well I won't mention anything about that then. The 8 o'clock session is the competition critique of PI number 4, our digital number 4. And we'll also see the MDC result from last month, which is music harmony. So at this point, Alan, you've got something you want to share with us as well. Is that? Yep, so here comes Alan.
Just a reminder on Tuesday at 6 o'clock at the university, around outside the Students' Union building, the fire spinners have asked us if we can come along and take some photographs of them. They'd appreciate it. It hasn't been happening in the square, in Victoria Square this year for some reason, so partly due to COVID, I would think. So I think they're hanging out to be photographed. Yeah, so that's at 6 o'clock. Tuesday evening. They're having a big food truck fest there, so they're providing some entertainment for it, so should be good. You might be able to buy your tea as well.
Thank you, Ellen. That's always a good evening out if you've got a nice, calm, clear evening. So now it just remains for me to say thanks to all the people who have put this evening together. So thanks for all you to come along. Thanks for you guys at home being part of this as well and clocking into the streaming. I'm glad you're part of it. Opening and closing, Terry Casey, thank you. Meet and greet, is Anna here tonight? She's not, okay. Thanks to JK for setting up this evening's show and Dawn for reading. It's quite something attempting those scientific names, isn't it? You did well. Projection, we've got Alan and Alistair tonight, thank you. Our sound people at the back, Wayne and Gordon, thank you very much for that and setting up the streaming. Well done. And just a quick note to you guys at home. A speedy recovery for Ian and Karen. We look forward to you being back here possibly next week. So, and for all of us here, thank you very much for coming along, and it's time to head home. Good night and safe driving.